The Logitech MX Mechanical Keys and the MX Master 3S mouse, man, they are really a great combination. However, there are a couple things that could be better, in my opinion. So up top here, I'll give you the TLDW version, and then we'll delve in a bit deeper. Both units are beautifully made, they look professional, they can both run wirelessly off a single Logibolt receiver or over Bluetooth. You can easily switch between 3 devices with the press of a key or button, or you can use Flow, which is really one of the coolest things that you will ever use. You can literally take your mouse from a Windows computer over to a Mac, copy a file, come back to Windows, paste it, and use it over here. Or take your mouse over to the Mac, the keyboard will also switch to the Mac, and you can type on your keyboard. Bring the mouse back over to Windows, and now we're typing in Notepad. Like I said, it is really one of the coolest things that you will ever use, and it's a huge time saver if you normally use multiple systems. The keyboard has an adjustable backlight, although it will go off after about 5 seconds when your hands leave the keyboard. You can program a number of keys to your preferred shortcuts. You can even customize the keys for different applications. The keybed feels great. The action is perfect. The tactile version that we have here is very quiet. And the whole keyboard just feels like quality. Over on the mouse, you can customize buttons or customize per application. The mouse wheel is segmented or notched, so you will feel feedback with each scroll. Or you can switch to free mode with the button, or just throw the wheel. The thumb wheel provides accurate horizontal scroll. The buttons are very quiet, but you still feel a click when you press a button. And it also works on various surfaces. The battery life for both devices is amazing, and charging them up is very simple since both devices have a USB-C port. And now for the bad, and this is highly personal, things I don't like, you may end up loving, all right? So first up, if you're coming from something like an ergonomic keyboard, the MX Mechanical Keys will feel cramped because all the keys are right next to each other with no separation, even for the F keys. So I find myself making typos all the time, or accidentally hitting the caps lock key, or adjusting the volume, or switching devices, because I use that home button all the time for DaVinci Resolve. Now, I'm no professional typist. In fact, the majority of the time when I'm using the keyboard, it's to use shortcuts for apps like Studio One or DaVinci Resolve. And when I'm typing, I'm probably only using 2 or 3 fingers. So I'm sure that a more compact keyboard would technically be faster for someone who is using all of their fingers. And if you're already used to this style of keyboard, then I'm sure you'll feel right at home. But for me, it does feel a bit cramped. The other issue is the backlight. Now, don't get me wrong, it looks great when it's on. The problem is the light goes off after about 5 seconds when you remove your hands from the keyboard. And this is something that I do all the time when editing video or music. And then when you need to hit that keyboard shortcut to maybe switch a tool or split a clip or something, you have to wait half a second for the lights to come back on so you can actually find the key. And this is true even in a well-lit room. It's hard to see the keys when the backlight is off. In that half a second you have to wait, it really starts to impact your flow. And sometimes the proximity sensor doesn't work correctly, and you have to tap the keyboard or hit a key for the light to come back on. I don't know why Logitech made the choice for the light to go off after 5 seconds. It should really be 30 seconds minimum, and I should have an option to set it to 5 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, or always on. I don't care if I have to recharge my keyboard every day. I just need to be able to see it. Now, to be fair, the backlight does work pretty well overall. It's just those times when you go to hit a key and the backlight is off, and then you have to wait a half a second for the light to come back on so you can actually see the keyboard. It can get annoying. Now, if Logitech is watching this or any other keyboard manufacturer, what I really want is a wireless keyboard with an ergonomic design similar to the K350 or the Microsoft Sculpt Comfort. It needs to have a backlight, preferably one where you can choose any color you want, and the light needs to stay on a minimum of 2 minutes, with preferably an option to have it on all the time. The top row of keys need to be separated from the number keys. I want a large delete button. I want a dedicated calculator button and dedicated volume keys. I want to be able to switch devices with a simple key press. I would also prefer that it has a mechanical key bed that feels just as premium as the MX Mechanical. Oh, and make sure it charges with a USB-C port. I mean, we're not living in 1950 here. I also have a G915 that fits many of the things that I want, but the charging port is micro USB. I mean, come on, guys. It's not 2002. Simple Plan isn't playing on the radio. I don't even have a radio. Literally nothing else I have uses micro USB. So now I have to keep a special cable or use an adapter when I need to charge. Why? Why? Now, unfortunately, the keyboard I described simply doesn't exist, and I'm sure it would be a huge seller. There are plenty of guys out there who want a big, comfortable keyboard that's loaded with features. Not everything has to be tiny and compact today. There are plenty of keyboards like that on the market already, and some of us don't like to have to roll our shoulders and squeeze our hands together just to fit on a keyboard. We need big keyboards for big guys with big hands to do big work. Someone make that keyboard. Logitech, Corsair, Microsoft, anyone, make that keyboard. It will be your biggest seller of all time, guaranteed. Now, as far as negatives for the mouse, there really aren't any. I mean, it will take you a while to get used to the arch, and if you're used to using a tilt wheel, then it will take some time to get used to the thumb wheel. But I don't really have anything negative to say about the mouse. So, bottom line, I'm sure the vast majority of people will be very happy with this combo. Both units feel premium, typing on the keyboard feels amazing. They really got the action to feel perfect on the MX Mechanical Keys. If I try typing on my MacBook Pro, I have to immediately switch to the MX keys because the MacBook keyboards feel awful. It's like you're typing on a piece of wood, while the action of the MX Mechanical Keys feels very natural and satisfying. The mouse just works. It's accurate, feels good in the hand, and it's kind of nice having a dedicated thumb wheel. And then of course, there's flow. Once you start using flow, it's hard to stop, which means you really can't switch out your mouse or keyboard because your options are very limited for a mouse and keyboard that are flow compatible. If you normally work across multiple computers, flow is a huge workflow enhancer. So, while I do have some problems with the backlight and the size, I'm sure most people will be very happy with this combo. So, if you want to pick these up for yourself, I'll be sure to have links in the description below. Alright, so that is the review section. Now we'll move on and delve in a bit deeper. We'll start by unboxing the keyboard, and this is the tactical quiet version. Take a look at the box if you wish. And we'll pop it open, pull out the keyboard, pull out this little box, and in here is some paperwork, basic instructions, and a USB-C to USB-A cable, and your Logi Bolt receiver. And that's it. Next, we'll unbox the mouse. Feel free to pause if you want to read the box. Let's pop it open. Here's your mouse, and there's some basic instructions taped to the bottom here. I'll pull that off. You'll also get a Logi Bolt receiver, which we don't need in this case since we can use the one from the keyboard. In this little box, there's more basic paperwork and a USB-C to USB-A cable. Let's compare the sound of a basic membrane keyboard to the MX Mechanical Keys. As you can tell, the MX Mechanical Keys aren't really any louder than a membrane keyboard. The tone is just a bit lower. And then if we test typing like normal, you can barely hear it. Now we'll compare the volume of the mouse buttons. All right, let's connect the Logi receiver and set up the keyboard. First, flip on the keyboard with this switch, and you'll get a pop-up saying to install Options Plus. Follow the prompts, and we're good. You can see the keyboard and the battery level. I'll go to Settings and set up Dark Mode. You can log in with your Logitech account to back up your settings. Click the keyboard for a tutorial on how to use it. You can set up different backlighting effects. Once you're in the settings, you can customize the highlighted keys. And there is a dedicated calculator button and media control buttons on this keyboard, which is something that I require. However, if you want, you can customize them for something else. You can even create profiles for different applications, so you can really set up this keyboard to work however you want. Use function volume down to change the backlighting effect. Or of course, just select it in the app. You can also turn the backlighting off completely. Under Easy Switch, you'll see the other devices paired with the keyboard. There's none right now. And you'll find other various settings under Settings. Go figure. Now we'll connect the mouse, and we don't need to use the included Logi receiver because we can use the one that came with our keyboard and is already plugged in. So switch the mouse on, head into Logi Options Plus, add Device, Logi receiver. It already found it. hit connect, and then follow the instructions by clicking the proper button or buttons when prompted. And that's it. You're connected. Head through your tips, and you can always change this stuff later on. Customize the back and forward buttons. Switch to other devices with the button on the bottom. And you even have a gestures button. Now this is a button that I don't use very often, but hey, it's here if you want to set things up. And of course, just like the keyboard, you can customize your buttons per app. So now we can see both the mouse and the keyboard in the app, see your battery levels, click on the mouse if you want to customize it, change the pointer and scroll speed. Under Easy Switch, you'll see the other devices that the mouse is paired with. We'll come back later and set up flow. And then you have various settings under Settings. Back to the keyboard. So we know the lights go off after about 5 seconds of removing your hands from the keyboard, and they come back on when your hands are detected or if you hit a key or tap it. But there's also an ambient light sensor, which can automatically adjust the brightness of the backlight. But you can also adjust the brightness with these two buttons. And you also see the pop-up on screen. When you hit the caps lock, you'll see that pop up on screen. And the button will flash. Some of the other pre-programmed keys are lock, show hide desktop, calculator, volume and mute, mute microphone, screen snip, which I don't use because Snagit is so much better, emoji keyboard, dictation, and if your monitor supports it, you can change the brightness here. Of course, you can customize all of these keys, plus more, in the Logi Options Plus software. So, for example, I could set the screen snip button to open Snagit. Maybe set the monitor brightness buttons to a keyboard shortcut, or just copy and paste, etc., etc. Or even open a folder. Of course, you can do the same thing for the mouse. The keys have a premium feel to them. They almost feel soft, not plasticky or slick at all. The action is perfect. It really feels great to type on this board. And if you want to speed type on this keyboard, you don't even have to bottom out the key for it to register. Besides the fact that I find it a bit cramped overall, typing on this keyboard really does feel great. You'll also find flip-out feet on the bottom, and the power switch and USB-C port are here on the rear. The body of the mouse has a rubberized feel, so it's easy to hold and grip. The buttons are quiet, but you will still feel a click. The scroll wheel is machined steel with grooves for accurate scrolling. In normal scroll mode, the wheel is segmented or notched, so you'll feel each scroll. Or you can switch to freewheel mode with this button, and you won't feel those notches. You can also just throw the scroll wheel, and it will temporarily switch to free scroll, which allows you to scroll through thousands of lines in seconds with a single action. You can press down on the scroll wheel for middle click, but there is no tilt. which you don't really need since we have the thumb wheel for horizontal scroll. You have a forwards and backwards button on the side, which of course can be customized and programmed to whatever you want. And you have a gestures button here on the bottom of the thumb groove, which again can be customized to whatever you want. And the USB-C charging port is here on the front. Now, because of the height of the mouse, it does take a while to get used to it when coming from a normal mouse, but you should be able to adapt within a couple of weeks. So both units look and feel premium. The single Logibolt receiver provides accurate tracking for both the keyboard and mouse, and both devices just work so well together. Let's connect the keyboard to some other devices. I'll press and hold one of the easy switch buttons for 3 seconds. Then pair it on the Mac with Bluetooth, and you're connected. Then I can type on the Mac, press Easy Switch 1, and then type on Windows. We could even add another device, like maybe an iPad, on Easy Switch 3. And of course, type on the iPad. Press Easy Switch 2 and type on the Mac. Press Easy Switch 1 and type on Windows. Simple. You can also do the same thing with the mouse. Cycle over to 2, and since nothing is paired, it enters pairing mode. If something is already paired, just cycle over to the number that you want, and then press and hold for about 3 seconds, and the light will start to blink. So, what do you say we pair it with the Mac, and even pair with an iPad? Then just press the button on the bottom when you want to switch. But an even easier way to work with other devices is using Flow. First, you'll need to install Logi Options Plus on the computers that you want to use with Flow. We've already paired our mouse and keyboard with the Mac. If you haven't, then of course you'll need to pair your devices with the other computer first, and both computers, or up to 3 computers, have to be on the same wireless or wired network, all right? The Windows desktop is wired, and the Mac is using Wi-Fi. You may also need to enable Flow on the other device if it's not connecting, and it should see your other computer. Once you're connected, you can drag your computers around so they match the physical orientation. Now, you don't have to have a compatible keyboard to use Flow with your mouse, okay? But if your keyboard is Flow compatible, like the MX Mechanical Keys, then your keyboard will automatically switch devices with your mouse as long as you link it. There's also some other settings that you can change in here, like requiring the control button to be held so you can switch to the other device, but this is what I want here, all right? You can also find the full instructions and even videos online if you're having trouble. But once Flow is set up, here's how it works. I can take my cursor over to the edge of the screen, wait just a moment, and it switched to the Mac. And the keyboard also switched over. Take it to the left edge of the Mac, and now both devices switch back to Windows. You can actually see the connection switch on the keyboard Easy Switch keys. Here I'm taking the cursor from the Windows PC to the Mac, and then back to Windows. The same thing happens on the bottom of the mouse, by the way. But then you can do things like this. I'll type hello in Notepad on Windows, copy it, drag my cursor over to the Mac, and paste it into Notes. Now that's pretty cool. Of course, imagine longer paragraphs, full documents, whatever. That's pretty cool. But it gets even better. Now I can't just drag and drop a file between systems, okay? But I can, say, copy this video file on Mac, drag my cursor over to Windows, and paste. Okay, and the video is copied over. Or I could copy this image on Windows, drag the cursor over to Mac, and paste. Or of course, do more simple things like edit a video on Windows while watching a YouTube video on your Mac, right? And seamlessly control both computers with a single mouse and keyboard. Now, Flow is a huge time saver when you normally use multiple computers. It really does enhance your workflow. And like I said up top, once you start using it, you will not want to stop. So that is the Logitech MX Mechanical Keyboard and MX Master 3S mouse. Besides my personal issues with the keyboard feeling cramped and the absolutely annoying decision to not allow us to keep the backlight on, besides that, both of these devices provide a premium feel, lots of customization options, easy switch, to other computers, and of course, Flow. So yes, while I would personally prefer a larger ergonomic style keyboard with color lights that stay on, there is no denying the feature set and workflow enhancements of this combo. That's why both of these devices are so highly rated and why they're worth considering when you're searching for that new mouse and keyboard. So if you want to pick these up for yourself, I'll be sure to have links in the description below.